Yes, everybody, welcome back to episode 69.
Hey!
I knew you were going to do that. Episode 69 of What the Devil. I am Dylan, joined here today in a bit of a different setup with Nick, my boy.
Yes,
so
sir.
there's only two of us today, but it's good news, big Brian and Mbeumo week. I still don't know if it's Mbeumo or Mbeumo.
I've seen this debate quite a bit. I'm gonna stick with Mbeumo.
I don't know which one I prefer.
I think you know the Premier League thing where they go out and say their names.
Oh, it's always the worst video ever.
Yeah, but I think he says Mbeumo. Brian.
Oh, really bad.
Brian.
Yeah, I feel weird.
Welcome, Brian.
I feel weird about calling him Brian.
Why?
You know how I make the jokes about our front three being Matty, Brian, and Victor?
Yeah, but you know what it is? At least Brian is his name, but you've taken Mateus and made him Matt. That's out of order. Out of order.
Okay, fine, yeah. But so, Brian and Mbeumo, it seems like United have finally agreed some sort of fee. It's basically what the reports are saying. It's over 60 million, but it doesn't seem like it's up towards 65 million.
Yeah.
So it seems like the final fee for Mbeumo is between 55 and 60 million set, and then add-ons take it up to another like 5-7 million. I'm just going to ask, because we talked a few weeks ago about signing somebody who is on the last year or last few years of their contract, and then ended up paying like 65 million for them. Like basically, we paid 65 million for Cunha, who admittedly was a release clause and he had like 5 years left on his deal. We're paying the same price for someone who is, I'd say, on the same level as Cunha in terms of like one of the best of the rest in the Premier League.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But he's a little bit less on the contract. Less in his contract. Is it too much money that we've paid? Obviously, it's a fantastic improvement. I'm not going to say that we shouldn't have done it. If it was over 70, I'd be sat here going, "What we doing, man?"
Yeah. Fair.
But I like it. But I just want to ask you, like, do you think United maybe have, because the fact that we want him in so quickly, we want him in literally like by the start of not next week, but the week after,
7th of July.
Yeah. Is it a bit too much, or is it actually a fair price for the fact that this guy is unreal?
All right. What I would say is, if you look at it from a Man United point of view and look at what we've done in the past and the deals that we've made in the past, I don't think it's too bad. I mean, like, if you think, for example, we paid essentially £55 million for an extremely injury-prone Mason Mount on literally his last year of his contract. Whereas with Mbeumo, it's his last year, but with an option for Brentford to trigger an extension for another year. So technically, it's kind of 2 years. So when you look at our previous signings and Anthony and Højlund, etc., I don't think it's a bad signing. Are there other clubs out there who would have got him for less? I think so. I think there's probably better negotiators out there because Man United tax is real, unfortunately. So we do,
100%.
We are always going to pay a little bit more than others. But listen, it's his Premier League proven player, Brian Mbeumo. His numbers over the past 2 seasons, and everyone spoke about, what's going to happen when Ivan Toney leaves Brentford, and Mbeumo stepped up. And even when Ivan Toney was there, he was still getting the output out there.
I mean, I think Mbeumo's been better than Toney ever was.
100%. Because you know what it is with Mbeumo? Don't get me wrong, Toney he definitely gives you good link-up play, and he's technically a very, very sound player, very nice player. However, Mbeumo, for me, gives you far more than just goals and assists. He can drag you up the pitch. He's got good pressing stats. He's got good defensive stats as well. And you know what it is with Brian? I keep calling him Brian. But you know what it is with Brian?
Big Brian.
Big Brian, yeah, literally. I feel like he's the kind of player who somehow always makes the right decision. Do you ever get that with him? Like he doesn't, he rarely gives the ball away in a situation where he shouldn't do. He doesn't really give away fouls where he shouldn't do. Presses at the right time, it seems. He reminds me of Bukayo Saka in that sense a little bit. Like, neither of them have, let's say, one ability where you go, right, he's got blistering pace, or he's an incredible dribbler. He can take on a man. He can shoot from outside the box and get it pinpoint on target. None of them really have that. But what they do have is consistency and effectiveness over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm all right with 60 mil and the add-ons. If you get the add-ons, I'm happy anyway, because the add-ons are probably...
Hopefully they're like, winning the Premier League or like getting 100 goals, 150 appearances, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And if he reaches those numbers, then happy days. I'll take it.
You know what I think it is with Mbeumo, which I really like, is he's got what I think we've missed so often from our wingers in the last 10 years, which is he plays a few seconds ahead in games. So I feel like we've had wingers who have had standout qualities. Like Garnacho has standout qualities. We've had even like basic wingers like Dan James, for example, who was very easily you knew what you were getting from him and stuff. But these wingers didn't play ahead of themselves, or like they didn't like play thinking what's next. I feel like with Mbeumo and Cunha, both of them, they're both. Cunha's a little bit more off the cuff, because that's kind of just a style he is. But I feel like he plays and he thinks ahead, which I think is going to do wonders for us. Because when we've been attacking last season, it's literally just been doing whatever in that moment feels like we could do. And it's like Garnacho would be like, oh, do I pass or shoot here? Oh, I think I'll shoot, even if it's not the best option. I feel like if Mbeumo gets the ball, Bruno gets the ball, Ama gets the ball, Cunha gets the ball, whoever our striker is gets the ball. They know what they want to do by the time it's at their feet, rather than going, oh, pass me the ball. Oh, okay, now I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot this time from 30 yards. And it's going to go over the bar and kill someone in Rose Ed.
Yeah. Well, I think with Rashford and Garnacho especially, we had that. Less so, obviously, with Ahmad. But yeah, no, you're right. We didn't have that. You know what, as well? Another thing I'll say as well is, let's say we didn't have an Mbeumo and a Cunha coming in, and let's say Rashford was still doing fine, Garnacho was still doing fine, and we're headed into the season with those two as two of our mainstay wingers. If we then go and get a Gyökeres, an Osimhen, or even an Ekitike, I would be worried about the service that would go into them, that would get into them, because we've seen time and time again, Rashford and Garnacho. I mean, Rashford does it better than Garnacho. I don't think we can really put him in the same category. I do think Rashford's a much better creator than Garnacho, but nonetheless, they want to run down the line, cut inside, and have a shot. Right, that is basically what they're best at doing. With Cunha and Mbeumo, you actually have two, not wingers, not tens. I would sort of just call them wide creative players who are actually going to feed our striker, whoever that may be. Whereas I would say in the last sort of 3 years, I'd say probably fair to say, we haven't really had that from our wingers, unless it's been Ahmad, who's really come into it this season. So we're actually, hopefully, with Bruno, with Ahmad, Mbeumo, Cunha, whoever that striker is, hopefully we'll get some better service going forward. Yeah. And then, because we spoke about the graveyard shift as the Man United striker. Yeah. I'm talking even back to when Martial under Solskjaer. Even then, even sometimes Cavani sort of forced players to feed him because of the runs he would make. But our strikers,
he'd give people so many chances to feed him that it worked.
Yeah, and also Pogba. Yeah, and also because of who he was, you think I better deliver it into him. If he's made the run, I need to get into him. So hopefully as well, we can actually, whoever the striker may be, we don't know who it is right now, but they can help the striker as well.
Do you think, so obviously the two players that we're signing, in Cunha and Mbeumo, they're both very, Cunha's got 15 Prem goals and Mbeumo's got 20 Prem goals. Do you think potentially we might see that go down, but their assist stats or their chances to create, etc., go up? Because Mbeumo and Cunha were the main goal scorers for their teams. Obviously, there was Wisser at Brentford and then also Strand Larsen at Wolves. But realistically, Cunha and Mbeumo were the main goal scorers in their teams. Main talisman. But at United, and especially with Amorim, the main goal scorer is the striker. At Sporting, his whole thing was, obviously he had a load of good players, but it was all based around Gyökeres. Yeah. Right. The whole system was Gyökeres, and then everything fed into it. Yeah. At United, I think that's going to be the same, which is why with Rasmus Højlund and or Xerxes up front, etc., we've then struggled because the system's being based around someone who hasn't been playing well, especially in Højlund's part, and Xerxes when he moved deeper instead. Do you think maybe then that we'll see these two players become more creative at United? Not necessarily hit the 20 goals, 15 goals, but then maybe become more of 10-10 players or 10-15 players?
Yeah, I expect both of their outputs to go down a little bit regardless, because like you just said, they were kind of the main player, the main attacker, the talisman of the team. That's going to be a little bit different. I mean, at United, you've got Bruno, you've got Ahmad, you've got whoever the striker's going to be. They're not, Mbeumo is not going to be on penalties. Cunha isn't going to be on free kicks and corners. If you remember the Cunha, do you remember the Cunha straight from the corner goal against us?
Oh, yeah, the Olympico goal.
Yeah. So they're not going to be on set pieces, and so naturally, yes, their output is going to drop. Now, whether their goals decrease and assists go up, or chance creation goes up, etc., I think depends massively on who the striker we bring in, or if we bring in a striker, which I think we should. But say we don't, and say our starting striker for the most part is Joshua Xerxes. If it's Xerxes, you might expect Mbeumo and Cunha to actually stay thereabouts in terms of their goal output. Maybe assists might fall a little bit because Xerxes is a providing striker. He's not a sort of advanced forward finishing type of striker. He wants to interplay and bring other players into it. So if it's a Xerxes, you might well see their goals stay where it is or go up. Who knows? But if it's an Osimhen, if it's a Gyökeres, I would expect their goals to come down. But creatively, I think they'll be better.
Like Mbeumo, I think, had the most. I can't remember specifically what the stat was, but it was either the most the most number of successful crosses in the league, or like highest accuracy crosses in the league. It was something along those lines of being like he was like top for crosses.
It goes back to good decision making.
Yeah,
right. Knowing when to cross and who to, and as well, keep in mind, Wiss is not the tallest. Kevin Shard isn't the tallest. So the fact that he's got that, obviously that might also come down to corners and set pieces, etc. But it definitely shows you, and you know what as well. What I like about both Mbeumo and Cunha is that I think there's a nice balance there between the two of them in terms of Cunha wants to come in a little bit more central. Mbeumo doesn't mind staying high and wide a bit more.
Yeah,
and I think that hopefully brings a bit of balance. Because also another thing, I expect Dorgu to be a much more attacking wing back next season. Much more. I think he's going to be basically a winger for the most part. Yeah. He's going to give us width. He's going to give us the overlapping threat, which we have lacked for a while now. And so what often I think you're going to see is Cunha's going to drop in, maybe play it into Xerxes, maybe play it back into Cunha, and then you're going to get Dorgu running down the wing. So I also think Cunha is going to be a very, very good catalyst for Dorgu to start getting a few assists here and there as well.
I think Dorgu was... I get the criticisms of him, and it's kind of frustrating that he didn't get a single assist or anything, etc., as a wing, like meant to be a wing back or whatever. But I think he was massively hindered by the fact that it was Garnacho who he was having to connect with more than anybody. Like, Garnacho is not... I think he's a fantastic player, and I've been arguing on Twitter that I think the 60-70 million United are demanding for him, I think if you take the player in isolation, is a fair value for a player like a 20-year-old winger with over 150 appearances for club and country, almost 50 goals and assists in his 3 seasons at United and with Argentina. Like I think he's a fantastic player, but he isolates himself in his game too much to be around him. Yeah, he's got head down, kind of tunnel vision at the moment, and that's something that Cunha I think doesn't have. Like Vitor Pereira spoke a few weeks ago about Cunha, so he was asked about, like obviously your big man's left, how do you feel? And Vitor Pereira made a point to say that Cunha's improved so much. So Vitor Pereira, I think, joined Wolves in
same time as Amorim,
December.
No?
Yeah, it was in just after Amorim joined. So he joined in December, and he said he could see in just like the 5-6 months that he worked with Cunha became like a much better team player. He was like, Cunha started off as, he's the main man at Wolves, blah, blah, blah. But he said literally between December and the end of the season, Cunha really, really grew. So 25 turning 26-year-old grew into becoming much more of a team player. Yeah. Which I think, obviously, that's the quality that he has that Garnacho doesn't. No. And I think Dorgu would massively benefit off that. Yeah. One question I want to ask you, so you're talking about the striker. What do you think about, just as a hypothetical, and chat as well, I want you to know about, I can see you guys getting involved. You got the members like Nikhil, Ronnie, Jeremy, all getting involved. People, some people calling us, we're the United View rotation squad. We are GK and Relax instead of KG and Flex.
I like it.
But I want to ask, what do you guys think about the idea of a Cunha and Mbeumo Amad front three, with Cunha with Mbeumo through the middle? Just as an option, because he did play there a number of times under Frank. He likes, as you said, to, if he wants to, hold that back line.
Definitely can.
And then that also means that Ahmad's in the 10.
Okay, well, this is where I think one thing about Amorim's system, and I've said it before, that I'm not the biggest fan of three at the back, etc. But one thing that you do get with the Amorim system is that it is quite flexible in terms of, like you just said, for example, Ahmad can play right wing back, he can play 10. Bruno can play in the 8 or he can play in the 10. You've got a lot of, even Dorgu, for example, he can play left or right. You've got a lot of versatility for rotation. I don't know. I think it really depends on the game and the game state, whether you make a move like that. It's not impossible that we probably might see it at some point, especially given availability and injuries and such. Do I want to see it as our go-to solution? No. I don't, because I still think Ahmad is better wide. I think he can cause a lot of chaos wide, and which is like I like him in that right wing back role, and I think that's probably if we're defensively solid enough, Ahmad is really, really good for us there. And with Mbeumo, I don't know, you could do a job centrally. He's, like you said, he's done it before for Brentford, but again, don't think it plays to his strengths. I want to see him running at players. I want to see him cutting onto his left foot. Because also as well, with Mbeumo, he's also got a right foot.
He's got a wicked weak foot.
Yeah. So if you're running at a man and he doesn't know whether you're going left or right, that's an asset to have.
Yeah.
If you play him centrally, he loses that asset for the most part. So I wouldn't mind seeing it. And then, like I said, some games you might want to do it, but personally, I don't want to see it as our first game of the Premier League season.
Oh yeah. No, I want to see. Yeah, I really. I actually want to quickly read out TH14. Big up for the super chat. They both overperformed, so this is Cunha Roma, both overperformed XG last season and facing low block likely to be regression. Along with dropping to the mean as usual, they won't have the space they had. I get that. They are coming into... This is the one thing that I'm thinking is going to be like the first challenge that either of them are going to have to overcome is playing in the superior team. Now, so on the pitch, in theory, United, for most games, will be the superior team. And Cunha and Mbeumo have played with in teams that they're either the inferior team or like the level team. But I also think they're both such good footballers that will be fine, and they'll be fine. Because as you said, playing Ahmad, this like links into what I want about Ahmad, is there are some reservations about, why are we playing, what United's current star boy is at wing back now. When Ahmad's playing wing back, he's in the box.
Yeah, he's a winger.
Yeah, he basically plays as a winger, and I'm putting a lot of faith in that Villa game. where both our wing backs played so high up. It was basically a front five.
Yeah.
I think that's where we want to go next season.
Yeah.
I think the wing backs, it was a complaint. It was a fair enough complaint with Amorim about how the wing backs were basically we're playing a back five, not a back three.
Yeah.
I think we'll see much more of an actual 3-4-3 set of lines rather than 5-2-3.
Yeah.
And I think Ahmad will be someone who will really benefit from that. And I think having someone like Mbeumo, and also, what I think as well, is the wing back to wing back thing will become a lot better. So literally Dorgu and Ahmad directly playing with each other on the two wings.
Yeah, can happen,
I think could work. I think
switch a play.
I think there's a lot more. What's the best word to say? Like potential.
Yeah. Next
season, now that we literally just have better players in the squad.
Yeah.
And although yes, they will be playing against more low blocks, etc., we'll have more good players within that attacking line. That the low block, because of Ahmad particularly, that low block will get stretched as much as it can, because Ahmad would kind of just float around the wing and it'll be impossible to track. And so if they put two men trying to track him, suddenly suddenly Mbeumo's free. Or if they think, okay, we need to put two men on Mbeumo, suddenly Ahmad's sneaking around the corner and you can't catch him because he's so quick. That I think will be all right.
Yeah, the thing is with the whole wing back thing is it's funny because I think it's been a lot of instances in press conferences where I feel like Ruben Amorim has made a thing of it to not say wing back but say wingers. And I think that's basically him trying to tell us, guys, I don't want wing backs, I want wingers, but we're so bad right now that I can't afford to play wingers there because we'll just get sliced open. So I do think, like you just said, hopefully it's going to go from more being a back five to now being a back three. I also think the opposition is going to be really important in that, who we're coming up against, what kind of state we're in, what kind of form we're in and compared to them. One thing I do say, will say is I hope we never, ever see Dalot at left wing back again, because that was a horrific time, difficult to watch. In terms of the super chat that came in terms of overperformed XG and facing low blocks. The thing is, any player who moves to a big club, that is the challenge they face.
Yeah.
This is nothing new in football. It's been, for hundreds of years. When you go from a lesser team to a better team, it's going to change. The expectations are different. How teams come up against you is different. But like you said, I think both Cunha and Mbeumo are good enough. And I think that Ruben Amorim will have the plans set for them, so that is ultimately not an issue. I mean, if you think back to the Europa League final, which I don't really want to think back too often, but Tottenham basically scored the goal and basically said, right, we're going to sit in now. We're not going to do anything. Yeah, we had nothing.
We had no idea what to do.
Yeah. Cunha unlocks things. He can find a pass, and Mbeumo can shift a little. The shimmy that Saka. I know I keep comparing him to Saka, but the little shimmy that Saka has.
Yeah.
And it's so effective. It's so effective. It's not really spoken about. It's not anything glamorous. It's not a step over. You're not breaking a man's ankles, but that little shimmy to just give you that half a second to either have a pop shot or get a low cross in or something like that, and Mbeumo has that. So I'm not really worried about it. If with the extra time that we have on the training ground, the patterns that Ruben Amorim wants to ensure we have within the team, opportunities will arise within those patterns of play anyway, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I'm not really concerned about that. No, I feel fine.
Mbeumo broke down that shimmy. I don't know if you've watched his stuff with the F2. Also, anyone who's just joined from Alice Talks Footy stream, hello.
Hello.
I'm Dylan. This is Nick from United District. We are bigging up Cunha and Mbeumo right now.
Yeah.
So he broke it down on when he was with the F2
First.
about how what he does is he sits there and he waits until the defender he's one-on-one against, as soon as that defender's ankle touches the floor, he just goes. It was a really interesting that Mbeumo video with the F2 and the stuff he's done with the F2. Really cool. Like you really get to, I'm more excited, I think, about Mbeumo than I am about Cunha, because I think he's more of a wild card. So Cunha, to a certain extent, I feel like we know exactly what he's going to be.
Yeah.
He's going to be fun. He's going to be flary, and I really, really hope that he's going to be a successful Brazil story.
Brazilian
success story.
Because we've never had one really.
We've had like,
except for Rafael.
You could say like Fred, Rafael, and Anderson, etc. Like semi. But I want to see a Brazilian just absolutely pop it off at United, because we've had so many. We've been through Anthony. We've been through Alex Telles. Back in the day we had Kleberson and stuff, and it's just like I'm tired of it. I want to see something fun, like because we've had other successful South Americans, right? Yeah. In terms of like they always have that South American, I don't know,
file.
Nuss.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like South America, and Cunha is, he's so good. But Mbeumo, I just feel is a bit more of a wild card because he's so unique as a player. I think he's more unique than Cunha is. And there's something about the fact that he doesn't look anything like a footballer, which kills me.
What, the trim or?
It's the trim, the beard, the fact that he looks 25 going on 38.
I know, look at him.
It's just, I know. He's the back. I don't know. But
if he had a hairline, he'd be like 85.
Genuinely.
Do you know what I mean?
So there was another thing from Pretech Gaming has said, we will have trouble selling players till the time we have players. Luke Shaw, what? I'm dyslexic, man. We will have trouble selling players till the time we have players like Luke Shaw types of players. That is the next 3 summer windows. Harsh reality. I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah, he's basically saying it's going to be hard to get rid of a lot.
This moves on to what I want to talk about next, which is Jadon Sancho and the whole Juventus stuff.
Yes.
So depends on, so all of this is always depends on how much you believe. Italian media, who are always a little bit insane, but they basically claim that Juventus are close to agreeing terms with Sancho, and that they are not too fussed about United's 21 to 25 million valuation. So it looks like Sancho might end up being, weirdly, the first major sale.
Which I would never have expected.
I would never. I thought Sancho would be the one that would take 8 years for him to get out, and we'd end up having to pay off his wages. But I'm not sure about the wages and whatever. But what I really, really like, and what I really hope United do, is ask about Douglas Luiz. So Ruben Amorim wants Premier League proven players, right? And I feel like that's something that we all agree on, right? We need Prem proven players and stuff. And there's been rumours about Casemiro going to Saudi. I'm leaning more towards I want him to stay now, because I don't want, if we sign a new midfielder, I then don't want the immediate next option to be Ugarte as like the only next option. Because Ugarte has had his good moments, but he's also had his his other moments. And I think that if we brought in a midfielder who just so Douglas Luiz like 150 Prem games at Villa, he was quality, right? We wanted him, City wanted him, Arsenal wanted him, and then he moved to Juventus with Elisha Lehmann.
Weird signing.
Very, very weird. And then apparently,
and he's not with his goal anymore, is he?
Yeah, no, not anymore. And apparently he wants to leave. Where he's open to leaving after Club World Cup.
I think
he's about 20 to 25 mil. As far as it goes in terms of wanting midfielders and people who know the Premier League and will like have a certain level, like in the way that we've got Cunha, Mazwari, and Mbeumo, these kind of people who will put in a certain level of performance. Even like Dalot, for example, very rarely do you see him like there's a certain expectation of him at least doing okay. Yeah,
as long as he's not
I feel like our midfield is the one place that we don't have anyone like that, bar Bruno. But like we don't have anyone who you can rely on to be like, you know what, he's shown enough that he will just at least put a job in. I like the idea of, so it's been mentioned by Andre in the chat here that hasn't had a lot of injuries. The idea I'm saying is if we can get, he's 27, he's just turned 27 or just turning 27, one of the two. If he's in the squad alongside the others, I like it because it's depth, it's Premier League proven, it's this, it's that, and it's also not an extortionate amount of money. I really like the idea.
I like the idea. I like the player. I think he's technically very, very good and very probably underrated in his ability to pick up the ball from the defensive line and progress the ball forward, because I think that's what he done so well at Aston Villa. And a lot of what Aston Villa did well in that season when they got Champions League qualification went through Douglas Luiz. And I don't think that Unai Emery wanted him gone, but I think for PSR reasons they had to sell him. My only thing about Douglas Luiz is ultimately I don't think that in most Premier League games you can play a midfield two of Douglas Luiz and Bruno Fernandes. I don't think that's quite viable. I think Douglas Luiz is the kind of player who probably does better in a three in midfield when he's got a few more bodies around him, because the same problem that goes with Kobbie Mainoo playing in the 8, which is that he can't cover ground well enough, I think the same goes with Douglas Luiz in terms of he's not going to get about quick enough, and Bruno Fernandes also doesn't. Bruno Fernandes never stops running, but he's not, you know...
Yeah, he's not the far, he doesn't cover ground.
No, he doesn't eat up ground like
Caicedo,
for example. So that would be my reservation. If we had... If we had an Onana from Aston Villa in the team already...
Oh, if we had an Onana.
And then you want to go, right, let's also add in Douglas Luiz. Why? Because there might be some games where Bruno might be in the 10. So then you play a midfield two of Onana and Douglas Luiz. That, wonderful, amazing. But because we don't have that player right now, because Casemiro isn't that player anymore because he hasn't got the legs for it, Ugarte... we thought was that player. Seemingly, I don't think he is that player. I don't think he eats up ground in any way, shape or form the way we thought he would. So because of those reasons, I would say I'd rather see a different midfielder come in first before you go for a Douglas Luiz.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Super chat. So Super Chat, Red Devils Down Under. Big up, Australian dollars coming in. Cunha and Mbeumo gives us a lot of mobility and movement and 1v1s and driving into the box. Something that's been missing for years. Means we aren't relying on magic Bruno balls, 15 goals plus minimum.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Just to go back to the Cunha and Mbeumo point with this for the moment, is that you mentioned the Europa League final when Spurs were sat in the box. All we did was pass it around the box. We had no one. And when Garnacho came on, he was like, right, I'm going to beat him and do something. Garnacho, to his credit, at least trying to do something. Nothing came off. And there is the whole thing if he should have come on earlier and blah, blah, blah. But that's by the by. But yeah, no, Red Devils Down Under is completely right. Is we're going to have more of a direct threat, especially if we've got Ahmad at wing back and the two there, and then hopefully a big striker. You know who I like, who we've been linked to, is that Genk striker. I don't know if you've seen this, Tolu, I can't say his surname. Basically, he's 24, Nigerian international. The thing I like about him, and this is kind of just purely what I like about him, is he's 6'6". And the idea, it's Tolu.
Yeah, I've got him.
That guy, yeah.
Arakoda.
So he got like 20 goals or something last season, available for like 20 million quid. I watched some clips of him and he's like surprisingly mobile for a 6'6" striker. Maybe not right for the Prem, but it's just a thing that I saw. Card. Yeah. Which I like and I saw.
First?
But going back to the sales.
Yeah.
Sancho's kind of through the door, seemingly through the door a little quicker than you thought. Has that, because I know you're worried about the sales, has that changed your mind at all about how United can do this? Because I had a bit of a back and forth with people on Twitter the other day about this, is that I think that we're going to see more stuff coming through now that, pre-season is starting soon, not just for United, because United want players through the pre-season. I feel like people aren't really taking into the fact that we're not the only club that are going to want that. Yeah. I feel like players are now starting to come back from holiday. It's the beginning of July. It's when I know there's been the Club World Cup teams and Liverpool have smashed their business. And that's been insane to watch. Like Liverpool getting all their stuff done. Like they're looking to sell Darwin.
I think they confirmed Kirkus today.
Have they confirmed Kirkus?
Yeah, I think he signed.
What a good left back. By the way.
That one hurts.
But so you still worry that we're not going to get this stuff through the door?
Yes. Not necessarily through the door, but I just. First of all, you never want these kind of things to drag out anyway, because already there's talks of, is Ruben Amorim going to allow the likes of Garnacho, Sancho and Rashford, maybe even Anthony, to come on tour? Because what if actually them being there has a negative impact on the overall squad morale? I mean, like, Jadon Sancho, I don't want anywhere near our players or near the team.
Neither do I.
Like, not to say, I really dislike the guy, but I just think his attitude and everything that he's done since being at the club, from the thing with Erik ten Hag, the tweeting stuff, to the fact that Chelsea offered him a contract with, I think, a wage which is fair for what he contributes.
It's like 120k or something.
I think it was 150.
150.
I think it was 150. So we're giving him 250, and Chelsea offered him 150. That is fair for what you are providing for the team. Take it. You can stay in the Premier League. You can stay in London. Happy days. The fact that he's even rejected that just adds another point against Jadon Sancho. But if we can get him through the door, excellent. Out the door, sorry. Excellent. Anthony, I feel like we will be fine. And I feel like
Betis have just sold Johnny Cardoso, whatever his name is, for about 25 million to Atletico.
Right, okay.
We want like 35 for Anthony, or around about that. We're just like a PSR thing.
Yeah.
And they can't play the, we're a little broke club anymore. I just watched you get 25 mil. Anthony, I think will be fine because he wants to do it. We want to do it.
But the thing is with Anthony as well is that even if he comes to pre-season or something, I don't mind because I don't think he's a bad egg. Like, I just think he's just a player that just hasn't worked out in the Premier League.
Yeah, when he had agreed his deal for Betis, but it hadn't gone through yet, he played for us. He came on as a sub after that. I think Amorim doesn't have anything personal against Anthony.
I don't think so.
He just thinks he's not good enough.
Yeah, which I think is pretty much evident for all of us. He's too. He can't. Everything that he does is too slow for the Premier League. That's the problem with Anthony. Meanwhile, Garnacho, there should be more interest. I feel like there should be more interest than there already is. Like, I feel like Napoli have kind of been linked. He says he wants to stay in the Premier League, and apparently London is where he wants to go. But you're not going to Arsenal, mate. You're not going to Chelsea. So I do worry about him a little bit because oh, dude, Jesus. But as well, like what we want for him, I don't think there's going to be too many clubs out there that are willing to pay it. And also, he's not helping himself. Like the picture that he posted wearing the Aston Villa shirt with Rashford
kit. Oh.
Like, you can say, what's he done? He's just wearing his mates. But he knows what he's doing.
I know.
He knows what he's doing.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I've said what I've said on Twitter about that. I think it's ridiculous. I don't want to touch on it too more.
Yeah, it's just not needed from him. He knows what he's doing. Rashford, I don't think we're selling. I think we're going to loan him out again, which is not a disaster as long as you get most of his salary covered by the club who takes him. I know Barcelona have been linked, but you don't know what's true and what's not with Barcelona nowadays because their financial situation
I think Barcelona want him, and they're hoping that Rashford can convince United to let him just have him for a season. I think he wants to play as Barcelona's number 9 next season, like their striker next season.
Well,
and I think it's a case of Rashford. I don't mind him going on loan if, as you said, if like most of his wages covered or all of his wages covered, or he just kind of goes, okay, I'll take 100k less a week, and we don't pay him, and Barcelona pay him, but just pay him less.
Yeah,
because he's still got 3 years left on his deal.
Yeah,
so next summer, if he's 28, still 2 years left on his deal, we can still scrounge up a decent fee for him. Rashford's the one I don't mind if he doesn't get sold, but Garnacho's the big one. For sure.
We're so bad at this, man. We're so bad at I look around and I just think we're the only one who has these kinds of problems.
I think we're getting better at it. I think last summer our sales were pretty decent. We raised like 120 mil from sales last summer.
But also we sold the ones that were easy to sell.
No, I get that, but I feel like Willy Camboala on the previous ownership, we're not getting 10 mil for him. We got like 10 mil from Scott McTominay. I don't think goes for 25, 30 mil. Like we
they're definitely better.
We're getting there. And like when we talked about at the beginning about paying for Mbeumo, I think in regimes of past, we'd have probably end up paying more for Mbeumo than we have this time.
100%. We were 80 mil.
Exactly. So I feel like we're getting there. We're not fantastic at sales and everything. Yeah, just as Red Devils Down Under said, drop a like, everybody. He said the ratioing. I've not said any likes. We are on what? How many likes?
Not enough.
4.
Let's get them up, lads. Let's get them up.
We need more likes, bro. We want to get these likes up. But final thing I want to talk about is the thing that you hate most about Man United is the centre backs, the back 3. I know you don't like the back 3, but the back 3 is, at least for the beginning of the summer, is here to stay.
Yes. Yeah.
But we have a lot of options in the back 3, and there doesn't seem like there's going to be any sales or any new signings in the back 3.
No.
So I want you guys in the chat and also us to talk about what is the best back 3 for Ruben Amorim for the beginning of this season. Because the big question, I think, is surrounding Harry Maguire or Matthias de Ligt. Where they play, if they both play, if one plays. How does Aiden Heaven fit in? Does Yoro start on the right or left? I'm going to say, for this exercise, is imagine Lisandro Martinez is fit. So Martinez is a fit option and everything. I want to know what is the best back three. The wing backs, we're assuming here, are Dorgu and Ahmad on the two sides. So think about how they link up with the wing backs, who's in midfield, and where you want players to play. Because I would say my favourite back three is De Ligt in the middle, Leacher on the left, and Yoro on the right. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Because I like Mazwari on the right, and I like Yoro on the left. But I want to see, as much as Lenny Yoro is fantastic on the left, I think that's just because he's an outrageously good footballer. And I would want him to have as much time as possible on the right. Because even if Amrin was to go and we were to play a back four, Yoro would therefore be a right centre-back, not left centre-back. So I want to see him as a kid, I want to see him as a right centre-back as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say on that with Lenny Yoro is that one of the things that I've seen from him that I've loved the most so far is that his ability to pick up the ball and drive us forward. And we don't really have a lot of ball carriers. And he's actually proven to become one of our better ball carriers from defence into midfield. The thing with playing him on the left, which helped a lot, was that it opened up angles. So he can go onto his right, but equally if he wants to play, don't really know how to describe it, but if he wants to slice the ball through onto the left, he also can. It's an easier angle for a right-footed person to carry the ball forward and then find a pass. When he plays on the right, it's a little bit more limited because if he drifts in centrally, he's then having to rely on his left foot to play the pass that he wants to pass, the pass that he wants to play. So on the ball, I think you lose something when you play Yoro on the right compared to the left. Having said that, Lisandro Martinez is our best passer out the back. He just is, quite simple. Unless maybe Luke Shaw, potentially.
No, Lisandro Martinez got more range on him.
Yeah, I'd say
Shaw's
so
a very clean passer, but I wouldn't, if it was, right, Leacher, you're at left centre-back and you're going to ping a ball 50 yards up to Mbeumo, I would want Leacher doing that, not Shaw.
Yeah, even not the 50-yarders, but even those sort of 20-yard line-breaking passes, you don't really see as much from Luke Shaw. You see it more from Leacher. So because of that reason, I think Yoro has to be on the right, and I think Leacher has to be on the left. Through the middle, I would go with De Ligt as well. Not only because I think that he is still a better player than Maguire, but I also think you need to think long-term. Maguire's not going to be our centre-back long-term. De Ligt possibly is. I think he's also got the character, we said this before, to be our future captain. So for those reasons, you do want to play De Ligt. My concern with De Ligt as well, though, I have to say, is that the middle centre-back seems to be the one where Ruben Amorim wants to go, right, you step up. Our two in build-up, it kind of ends up looking like a 4-3-3 anyway.
Yeah,
because the middle centre-back steps up into midfield sort of as a 6, and those two centre-backs drop in to play ball. He isn't going to be very effective in that role. So I wonder if long-term, could Yoro do that role?
I was going to ask this,
and could De Ligt go on the right? Or Mazraoui be on the right? That could be something which also I think could be interesting because I do think he will struggle to play that role. And when our middle centre-back isn't good at receiving the ball, turning with the ball, laying it off, we struggle to play out of the back because it immediately goes from options of 5 to option of 4 that you can't play. So that will be my concern with De Ligt in the middle, but I think for the start of the season, I would like to see something like that. Although I don't know if Lisandro Martinez is going to be fit for the start of the season. So it's a bit uncertain right now.
The latest is that he will probably be able to make some sort of return in September. So that's so it'll be, I'd say, probably maybe fit to start playing towards October, to become a starter again in October-ish.
Okay.
The other thing I was going to ask is, what do you want to see us do with Aiden Heaven? Because I think Aiden Heaven is, a fantastic centre-back, right? I think it's because he's been playing in midfield, and I think the back three often helps protect the centre back a little bit because, you've seen, for example, when Chelsea win the league under Conte, David Luiz was just unreal in a back three, but then when he was at Arsenal in a back four, it became a bit of a calamity at times.
Christensen at Chelsea as well, and Thomas Tuchel
exactly.
looked very good in the back three, but
and then at Barca, it's not quite been the same. But I think so. Heaven has been allowed to be his best self with the protection around him. But what I want to see us manage Heaven in the same way that we initially managed Ahmad. Not saying what happened with the loan stuff, but I don't want to see Heaven. I really like the guy and as a player, but I don't want to see him in starting lineups yet.
Yeah.
I know he's 18. Is he? He's the least superior. The least what's the word? Experience. That's it.
Yeah.
Least experienced centre back we have, and I like him, but I want to see him fight his way up into the first team a bit. He's been amazing. He's been fantastic. But like when Lisandro Martinez is back and stuff, and Nuno Suarez obviously here, I want him to be below them to start, and I want him to kind of earn his way up to playing a starting role rather than opening day of the Premier League season against Arsenal and he's at left centre back.
Well, I feel like we're in a quite rare situation with Aiden Heaven because it's like so many times in the past, it's like we've had a good young player and they've had to immediately go into a starting lineup because we need them to save us, sort of vibe. So it's nice that we have the luxury of not necessarily having to play him. The thing is, when I watch Aiden Heaven, I'd say he's near enough or already ready to play Premier League, sort of, maybe not week in, week out, but definitely against the bottom 10 opposition.
Yeah.
He's probably ready for that. What Aiden Heaven gives you on the ball as well is really important. His ball playing ability is very, very good.
It's very surprising.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, in his academy days, he was more of a defensive midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
And when he grew into the size and stature that he eventually did, is when he was moved back into centre back. So I think you can kind of see where he is naturally very good on the ball because he used to play in midfield. So it makes sense. And I actually think, funnily enough, I mean, we said, all right, Lisandro Martinez on the left, Luke Shaw, and Aiden Heaven. In those three potential left-sided centre-backs, you've got three very good passes of the ball as well. It's a tough one because I feel like I'm a little bit worried about Lisandro Martinez regardless because I think the injuries are piling up.
I'm a bit worried about him defending the channels.
That too.
Yeah.
That too. Mate, but there are times where he looks leggy.
Yeah.
There's times where I feel like bro, if I went down the wing, I could have him. So there are times where he looks really, really leggy, I'll be honest. So yeah, that is definitely a concern with Lisandro Martinez. And the injuries can't have helped at all. The fact that, realistically, I mean, he's been here for 3 seasons now. He's probably been fit for about a season and a half of those 3. Something like that. Like he had the big one in...
Shall I check how many appearances
check.
he's
had? So yeah, I do have concerns about Lisandro Martinez long term, and perhaps that is where Aiden Heaven could come into his own. But again, like you said, I don't really want to see him.
91 appearances in 3 seasons, so that's an average of 30 a season.
It's not great. So concerned about him going forward, regardless. Not just because of injuries, but also like you said, defending the channels, and also Lisandro Martinez is not helping our physicality levels. Aiden Heaven would. Luke Shaw doesn't really help our physicality levels anymore. Aiden Heaven would. So I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that even with Lisandro Martinez and Luke Shaw fit, Ruben Amorim might go for Aiden Heaven at times. Like, we've seen him prefer the younger players and pick up younger players over experienced players. So I wouldn't mind if Aiden Heaven gets a fair crack at it this season, especially considering you haven't got European football anymore, so it's less games. So I don't mind seeing him be in a few Premier League games.
I want to see him play maybe 30 to 35 games, starting 15 of those, kind of thing. Because ultimately,
I don't think we'll see that, because we've only got
a lot less than.
Because if you think we've only got 38 games, 50 games, right?
Ish this
right,
season.
Okay. So yeah, maybe 25.
Assuming we get to like quarters of the 2 cups,
at
least, kind of thing, or like the semis over the 2 legs. Yeah.
So maybe 25, 30.
That's true. I think our defense is like, it's weird. We conceded a lot of goals last season, but I still don't think that our defense is actually too much of an issue in terms of the personnel. I think we just got screwed.
Did we concede a lot under Ruben Amorim? Ten Hag did.
Well, it was more that we conceded every game.
Yeah,
we never strung 4 clean sheets in 5 games.
No, never.
We didn't do it. We always conceded. It was basically a given that we had to score 2 or 3 goals to win a game.
Yeah.
Without a good attack.
And there was a few where Onana just threw it into.
Exactly.
Net,
but like, it all comes back to these Mbeumo and Cunha signings. In that, if we have these 2, we have the ball more, which means whoever we're playing has the ball less. And we're more likely to score more goals. Yeah. So even if we aren't the most stable team next season defensively, we'll be more okay.
Yeah, and also as well, again, it goes back to versatility and having the options there. There are going to be some games where you go, I want potentially De Ligt and Maguire in the back three, because we're going to be sat in a low block for a lot of it. We're going to be defending a lot of crosses, and so I want both De Ligt and Maguire in the team. There might be other games where you go, actually, we're going to have a lot of the ball, and I don't mind playing Lisandro Martinez, Yoro, and Mazraoui. Who knows? Because all three of them are very good on the ball.
On the ball, that back line is so good.
And you know what as well? This is another thing as well. Like, there's a lot to like about Mazraoui. There's so much to like about Mazraoui, but unfortunately for him, he's not naturally a right centre back, and he's not naturally a right wing back. Which is why when we're talking about what is our preferred back three, or even if you was to say what is your preferred starting lineup, he might not come into any of the positions.
But the thing is, so if you watched Champions League last season with Inter, right, they played a back three as well. But their two wide centre-backs were effectively a right and a left back. Because the wing-backs like Dumfries and...
were so far forward.
Who was the other guy?
Dumfries and DeMarco.
DeMarco, that's it. Yeah. They were so far forward, which is, I think, what Amorim wants next season. So with Mazraoui, there is the thing of... that does leave the middle centre-back with a lot of space to cover, which in the Prem could be an issue. We don't know. Yeah. But obviously they did get slapped 5-0 by PSG in the final.
Yeah, but PSG unreal.
Yeah, that PSG game was insane.
Yeah.
But there is a thing of Mazraoui can play that right centre-back role because he will be in the same area pretty much as a right-back would be. And he would have, he would still have the cover of a centre-back next to him, a midfielder just in front of him, and then Ahmad, who will do like God's work up and down that flank the entire match. Yeah. Because he does that already.
Yeah, he does.
There is, I think that Mazraoui will have a pretty alright time at right centre-back because I think he's going to be playing wider because the fullback, the wingers, or wide players, whatever, will be higher up.
And you know what as well? He's played himself into the starting lineup so much as well because he's actually been unreal. I mean, like, when you look at the signings we made last season, obviously Yoro's the one we're most excited about.
Yeah.
But Mazraoui's probably the one you look at and say, all right, he was the most consistent. He was the best transfer we made, realistically, for the effect that he had last season for us. He was the best one. So, yeah, I mean, we have so many options with our back three. I mean, all right, Lisandro, Luke Shaw, Aiden Heaven, De Ligt, Maguire, Mazraoui, Yoro. Did I say Yoro? I don't know if I said Yoro. That's already 7. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of options. We're fine for the back three, I reckon. Where my concerns lie right now is midfield.
Yeah,
I'm worried about midfield a little bit, just because I think we haven't really been linked to anyone as such. I
think a big reason for that is to do with, I reckon we have 2 lists. One of if we have a decent amount of money, one if we don't. And I feel like because we don't actually know which one we should go for. So I tweet the other day. I wonder what our transfer window would currently be looking like if we'd sold Bruno for like 100 mil, 120 mil. And the immediate reaction I got was everyone will be jacking up their prices for all the players that we want, which I don't necessarily think is true. I reckon if we sold Bruno for 100 mil, we would still get... I mean, Cunha was already paid for, and we'd still get Mbeumo for the same price. Yeah. We may have been more willing to meet what Brentford are now asking for, like, quicker, because we may have been like that deal might have been finished last week instead of this week.
Yeah.
But I think the main difference it would have been is that we would know more concrete-wise who we wanted at striker and midfielder. Because who we want at striker and midfielder massively depends on how much money we have for them. Yep. If we have an extra 100 million in the bank, 120 million in the bank from Bruno, I think we would now be in much more concrete discussions or whatever for a striker like Ekitike. Someone who's high-end, or like a midfielder, like we would be talking to Brighton about... who's that kid they have that's unreal?
Baleba?
Yeah.
Baleba?
I'm not saying specifically him, but like players like that.
Because
United are going, we know we have the money for them, so let's go and buy them. Whereas at the moment, we don't know if we have the money for them, but you also don't want to go and buy a 20 million midfielder, and then turns out we sold Garnacho for 70 million, and then you go, oh crap, we could have signed someone for much more money.
No, it's fair.
So I feel like we actually have who we want for midfield. The media just don't know it because we don't know yet which plan we're going to execute.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And you know what it is as well? That it all heavily lies a lot on Garnacho because he's the pure profit player.
Our future relies on Garnacho.
No,
horrible.
That's not. You can't.
How?
You can't say it like that. You can't say it like that. But how much we can spend definitely relies a lot on Garnacho.
Oh yeah,
how
big
much
time.
we get from. Yeah, because Anthony were making a loss. Sancho were making a loss. Garnacho is pure profit. Rashford would be pure profit, but we're not going to sell him from the looks of things. So, yeah, no, it's fair. It's fair. And you know what is well, like, all right, yes, Liverpool have done their business. Man City have done their business, but Liverpool spent nothing last season. They only brought in Chiesa, who was like 12 mil. So they've been having
and then
money.
they've since gone on to win a league title, which is money in terms of, well, money.
Yeah, but in terms of available cash to spend here and now, they've had that, and PSR reasons they've been able to spend
so much room.
Yeah, so you got to like take context,
and also with the rest of the teams, they've had a Club World Cup to do, so
Exactly.
they've been forcing through. Like Man City forced through that Cherky deal and the Reiners deal and stuff like that.
And then Aït-Nouri as well.
Yeah,
what a signing!
I know.
What a signing! That one really hurt. I'm not gonna lie. Like if you I like Dorgu, but
Aït-Nouri is just a fantastic player.
He would have been wicked on the left.
Yeah,
wicked as well. Yeah. So I'm not like stressed. I'm not worried. We've got 2 fantastic new number 10s in Mbeumo and Cunha. I do think the other transfers will come. One question for you, by the way, though.
Yeah.
Andre Onana. He doesn't seem like he's going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I brought this up in the group chat earlier, but ter Stegen, I don't think Onana will go, sadly. But I think if we was able to get rid of Onana, and I'll make another point after this, if we were able to get rid of Onana and ter Stegen gets out of his current contract with Barcelona, I think he's such a tap-in. Like, I just think,
I'd be so down.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's 33, so obviously he's getting on a bit, but he's a goalkeeper.
No, he's a goalkeeper.
Yeah,
right?
they could play till 38 at the very top.
Yeah.
So 33, you bring him in for a 3-year contract till he's 36. I think that'd be a wicked signing. I don't see it happening, to be honest, because I think the whole Barcelona situation is still very messy. But what I could see potentially happening realistically is that you bring in a decent second choice keeper who's going to keep an eye on his toes.
Yeah, we need a
Romero.
Like a 1.5, not like so Alte was brought in and he was number 2, right? It's so obvious. It took like 8-9 years for him to get his debut, and he played about 7 minutes for us since then. And he was so obviously a number 2. And Tom Heaton is the most number 3 goalkeeper of all time.
Scott Carson,
like
basically.
Yeah, like Andre Onana's spot at United, considering how bad he's played at times, couldn't have been a safer position for him.
Yeah.
There was like Bain played a couple of games. He had like one decent game against Arsenal, and then he had a couple other decent saves. And he also had some really sloppy moments against Spurs.
No, he's not great. But the lengths that Erik ten Hag and Onana went to make sure that Onana barely missed any games during AFCON tells you the trust that Erik ten Hag had in Bayern. Because he only missed one game during AFCON.
Yeah.
And he took a private jet to Cameroon to make the first game, and he was on the bench. Anyway.
Well, but do you remember, like, his flight got delayed and stuff? And
he
couldn't get to the stadium in time, so he couldn't play.
Yes.
He missed one game, and it was the Newport game where Bayern still conceded 2 to like a League 2 team.
Was that the 4-2 game?
It was a 4-2 game.
Was that the one where Anthony scored and celebrated like he just scored in the semi-final of the Champions League? Yeah.
But I like the idea of that.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea, the route we've so far gone down of signing a player who's 26 and then 25.
Yeah.
We're not I feel like the Rasmus Højlund signing and the fact that we've had to rely on players like Garnacho and Mainoo has meant that I think there's a little bit too much of a disdain on young players, like a kind of almost we're scarred a little bit because Xerxes 23, Højlund 22, and they've just at times been so bad for us that they've like been detrimental to us. And I don't think that's fair on other. So, for example, that's why I think there was a lot of like angst against the whole Liam Delap signing, which I'm still annoyed we didn't do.
No,
because
I
he's
would
22.
I would have liked him. Yeah.
Liam Delap is a fantastic striker, and same with Ekitike. It's like, another 22-year-old. He's going to be bad. Like, no, you don't know that. You don't know Delap was going to be bad. You don't know Ekitike is going to be bad. But what I like what we've done so far is brought in 25, 26-year-old, and with the players we're looking at are slightly more ready.
Yeah, that's
right. They're proven players. Like Amrin wants Premier League proven. Not just Premier League players who have played in the Premier League, players who have proved themselves in the Premier League, which is why I like the Douglas Luiz deal.
Yeah,
he proved himself at 24, 25, 26 years old as a Premier League midfielder, which is a very hard thing to do. And signing someone like ter Stegen I'd go along those lines. Like it's along those. Obviously, he's 30s,
you know what you're getting,
but it's different. It's the equivalent of signing a 28-year-old or like 27, 28-year-old outfield player.
Yeah. It's
right?
different. Yeah.
If we got someone because I think some of the goals we conceded last season, you could see it in the Europa League final. Onana being at the back made our centre backs
100%.
nervous.
100%.
They didn't. Like, they were a bit like, oh, I don't know.
100%.
Like you want the guy behind you to be a literal brick wall.
Yeah.
Like kind of like how David De Gea, I guess, was before he declined.
Before 2018.
Before 2018. That guy was he was a wall, and you want that. You've got Courtois, for example, for the most part, is
he's unreal.
I think he's
the world's
Donnarumma,
best.
For the most part, I'd say he's just like
Donnarumma is a weird one, man.
It's a weird one, but
he has mistakes in his game.
But I wouldn't. But
you'd feel alright.
They wouldn't make me nervous, if that makes sense. If someone makes a mistake, it's cool.
Yeah.
And like Ter Stegen, I think would be like that. He would sit there and he would go kind of to a certain extent. He'll go, lads, I've got this.
Yeah. You know what it is with Onana? It's like, first of all, he's got an absolute wacko mistake in him every now and then. Like do you remember the Brighton one? I was there for that. It was one of the games that I went to, Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe what I just seen. I was genuine disbelief as to what I just seen. So with Onana, that you got that. But also with Onana, he doesn't claim many crosses. He can't claim many crosses. He's not big enough. And he's not really like, I don't know, doesn't have the power or the leap. Whereas like, a Courtois comes out and, mate, I'm fine. I'm chill. Like, if you're one of the centre-backs for Real Madrid, Rudiger, if you see a ball coming in and he's anywhere near Courtois, mate, jog on. You're fine. Yeah. Courtois grabbing it. Onana doesn't give you that. Ter Stegen will give you that a little bit.
Onana also doesn't play his best version of football with us.
Oh, mate, don't get me started.
Like he's not the best profile for the type of football that he's being made to play. Bro, if that makes sense.
I've said this so many times. I made a video when Onana came to United, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's gonna change how we play," and he should have. We have never once in 2 seasons now, Andre Onana, seen what he is actually good at, which is on the ball, the ball on his foot. Like, we haven't seen that nearly enough. So it's same thing. Like, we bought Jadon Sancho to play on the right. He wants to play on the left. Like, buying players which just doesn't make sense, and we don't play to their strengths. So
Onana got lobbed immediately in pre-season and then never stepped out the box again.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I just feel like we pretty much used Andre Onana like how we used De Gea. So what was the point? Because at least De Gea is a better shot stopper than Onana. Yeah. So literally, what was the point? You lost money because De Gea went on a free and you paid 40 mil for Onana. What was the point? Yeah. So
this is the last thing I'm going to ask today on Onana. If we're going to be having more of the ball next season, are we going to see Andre Onana a better Onana? For example, so if we're not going to be facing as many shots, like because under Ten Hag, right, we're facing 20 shots a game and stuff, and under Amorim it was just unstable that we kept there were periods where we just get slaughtered for 20 minutes. Like if we're not going to be facing as many shots, and we're going to have the ball more, and we're going to have a central centre back stepping up, are we going to see Onana play higher and play better football?
Theoretically, it makes sense. But with United, theoretically, that makes sense.
Theoretically.
But it doesn't. Things that work on paper don't work at Man United, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what I will say is we've actually never really seen Onana given the freedom to go out your box, play ball. We've never seen that. So if Ruben Amorim gives him the keys to do that, who knows? Maybe. Don't completely rule him out. But I just think
is that a risk worth taking for Amorim?
Yes, because there are other priority positions, and yes, because there are no obvious candidates that you can go and grab. For those reasons, I would say maybe it's a risk worth taking. But in an ideal world, I'd want to see him be replaced, but I don't think it will happen. So let's at least play to his strengths.
Compared to, I'd say, I am kind of okay with Onana staying for another season.
Yeah.
In the way of I wouldn't want to replace him at the cost of replacing other players. Buying in other players.
Yeah.
So overall, it's annoying. I like him, Onana, as a personality. I think he's a player worth having compared to so many others we have, and I'm okay with it. And if he had, it's like if he has a good season next season, he actually has a good season and he sorts his shit out. Fine, cool.
Yeah,
that's actually all right.
Yeah.
But I would like to see us, back to what we said originally. I'd like to see us sign a number 2 who actually challenges.
Yeah,
someone like Sergio Romero, or who's the guy City had? Ortega,
stuff
like that.
Yeah. Or Kelleher, Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Stuff like that. Have actual. I know it's not fantastic to have instability about who's playing in goal. But if Onana has a bad game, I want someone who can come in and play 5.
Yeah,
and actually stake a claim, like with Dean Henderson.
Dean Henderson, bro. For example, Arsenal signed Kepa. It makes sense.
Yeah,
right? It's not. It's
exactly.
a bit weird.
I'm not saying
very
signing
weird.
Henderson, but I mean when we had that dynamic of Henderson and De
someone
Gea.
who's ready to step up.
Yeah,
that's what we need. But regardless, I'd want to see us sign a midfielder and a striker before we think about properly replacing Onana. So because of that, I don't think we'll see
I think if we sign a striker, we've signed all the other guys, Onana will be better. Yeah.
Hopefully.
But
Hopefully.
I think we're gonna wrap it up there.
Yes, sir.
So I really hope you guys, people who've come from Alice's channel or come from United District or regular United View viewers, I really hope you've enjoyed me and Nick today talking absolute waffle, waiting for the Mbeumo thing to come through, which I kind of hoped it would come through during this live stream. But
it'll happen this week. It's Brian week.
Right, Monday the 7th. There'll be training photos of Cunha.
Yes,
there'll be training photos of Mbeumo.
Yes,
they'll be there with Ahmad. They'll be there with Joshua Xerxes, with Rasmus Højlund.
With Ahmad. I miss
with Ahmad and
I miss
Bruno.
Ahmad.
Oh, man. We actually have players for pre-season.
Yeah.
The Leeds game, we're not going to tune up and it's just like a load of random 17-year-olds.
Why do we always play Leeds pre-season?
I don't know, it's weird, isn't it?
It's a bit of a thing.
We're playing 4 Premier League teams, though, but I hope you guys enjoy what you've watched. Make sure to like, subscribe, check out United District. All our links are in the description. United View. What else?
Nixon Talks, Instagram.
Nixon Talks as well. TikTok, Instagram, and FOTMob.
Shout out.
All of that stuff. And we will see you next week at 12:30 on Thursday. Peace.
Yes,